Today is the anniversary of a day that will live in infamy. MAGA and the right wing deny, downplay, and outright lie about what happened on this day in 2021, the worst insurrection since the Civil War. And the fact that Donald Trump is being returned to power and will most likely pardon insurrectionists is not only an insult, it is corrosive to democracy in this country. And where are the voices speaking out against this? I'm going to highlight one such voice, but I can tell you right now, that voice was not on NBC. Here's Kristen Welker, the day before the anniversary, interviewing Chuck Schumer. Is she asking about how Democrats are going to fight back? No. Is she asking about whether Democrats have a plan to prevent Trump from taking power? No. Here is what she asked.
Leader Schumer, what do you say to Americans who feel as though you and other top Democrats misled them about President Biden's mental acuity?
No. Look, we didn't, and let's look at President Biden. He's had an amazing record. The legislation we passed, one of the most significant groups of legislation since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, putting in 235 judges, a record, and he's a patriot. He's a great guy, and when he stepped down, he did it on his own because he thought it was better not only for the Democratic Party, for America. We should all salute him. We should all salute him.
And Schumer played along. Tell me again why we are being led by people like Schumer. He couldn't pivot on this and make an attack on Trump on a day when the voices of the people who were there and battled against this insurrection needed to be lifted up. The New York Times did the right thing and published this editorial by Aquilino Gonell, former sergeant in the Capitol Police and the author, with Susan Shapiro, of American Shield, the immigrant sergeant who defended democracy. The editorial, titled, "For Many of Us, January 6th Never Ended," begins with this. For those who didn't experience the violence, January 6th, 2021 might feel like it's in the past, but it's not for me. I keep reliving the 5 horrific hours of that cold Wednesday afternoon as I try to protect elected officials, regardless of their political ideology, and their staffs inside the Capitol building, all without firing my gun. It then goes on to say, for my efforts doing my duty as a Capitol Police sergeant, I was beaten and struck by raging rioters all over my body with multiple weapons until I was covered in my own blood. My hand, foot, and shoulder were wounded. I thought I was going to die and never make it home to see my wife and young son. I required multiple surgeries, years of rehab and treatment for recurrences of the post-traumatic stress disorder I was diagnosed with in the Army. I was vilified and called a traitor, as Mr. Trump and some of his fellow Republicans called the riot a day of love and a peaceful protest by warriors, patriots, political prisoners, and mistreated hostages. And here's the thing that really underscores why MAGA morons are total dupes and fools, carrying out the will of spoiled, rich, demented narcissist who cares nothing for them, let alone the rule of law. Listen as Sergeant Gonell compares his past to Trump. I grew up poor in the Dominican Republic, came to this country legally at age 12, and became the first in my family to finish high school and college. I lived in Brooklyn, just a few miles from where Mr. Trump grew up in Queens, yet the metaphoric distance between us was vast. My dad was a taxi driver who could give me only $100 to help pay for college. Mr. Trump's father was a real estate developer who bequeathed him at least $413 million over the years. While Mr. Trump escaped the Vietnam draft with a medical exemption for bone spurs and never served in the military, I finished my degree with the help of the GI Bill after I enlisted and served in the Middle East. What I experienced defending the Capitol against rioters was worse than the combat I saw in Iraq. Gonell then goes on to talk about what a travesty it will be for conman Trump to pardon the violent insurrectionists. And he concludes by writing, Mr. Trump is returning to the presidency at 78, while I had to leave the career I'd worked for my whole life at 42 as a result of injuries suffered while doing my job. I sometimes wonder why I risked my life to defend our elected officials from a mob inspired by Mr. Trump, only to see him return to power stronger than ever. It's hard to witness a rich white man getting rewarded for treachery while I'm punished for fulfilling my duty. Maybe that's why so many people don't do the right thing, because it's hard and it hurts. And that is the truth that the MAGA faithful will never face. The insurrectionists have far more in common with Sergeant Gonell than the draft-dodging, adjudicated rapist from Queens, but they would rather do the easy thing and feel aggrieved, act violently, and do the bidding of a con man than do the hard work it takes to investigate why things are the way they are, why Fox News is lying to them every day, learn something new, and stand up and do the right thing. They are only now finding out in bits and pieces that Trump is beholden by Putin and by billionaires and has never, ever given a damn about them. The question is, will they finally do the hard thing, say they were wrong, and try to get on the right side of history? Not without strong Democratic leadership, with a clear message and an effective plan. Not without more of us confronting legacy media and the buying up of social media by billionaires. But we can start with 2 words. Never forget. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.